Yo guys, Punkrat another video. Now I know that we're in a little bit of a content drought right now, and there's a lot of people that are quitting entirely. Asmongold threatening pretty much every single day that he's leaving the game and going to start playing retail. And honestly, I'm kind of on a mission to restore the hype within the community because there's still so much to look forward to. And I feel like people are so quick to forget all of the good times that we've had since Classic WoW launched. I think we've had incredible, historic, memorable moments, which is something that we haven't really experienced in the game in a really long time. And I'm here to say that it's not over. We're really just getting started. There's so much to look forward to when it comes to content releases for Classic WoW, and even beyond that. Classic isn't the end. Whether it's the Burning Crusade or another direction entirely, there's still so much on the horizon. So for this video, we're going to be talking about the top things to look forward to in the next content releases for Classic WoW. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first one is probably one of the most exciting when it comes to most people. And why is that the case? Specifically because it's about loot. And let's be honest here, we all play this game for loot. I've said that a million different times. Of course, I'm only memeing, but still, loot is a very important part. It's your character identity, it's your character progression, your character strength. It's one of the most important parts of the game. Right now, we have access to a limited pool. Not only is that pool of loot limited, considering we only have Molten Core to get items, and I guess now we have the introduction of the PvP system as well, but a lot of those items I'd say are pretty subpar, either worse than Dungeon Blues, on the same level, or slightly better. Well, things are about to change once BWL releases and the next couple phases after that. This is where loot starts to get really damn good. This is where the notion of power creep starts to come into effect, especially for less viable classes such as rep paladins, elemental shamans, and whatnot. So those are the two factors to look forward to. We get 20-man raids and a bunch of new raid tiers that are just giving a much bigger variety of items to get, more raids for the week, and more items to collect in general. And on top of that, items that take you to that next level and make your character absurdly powerful to the point where you're just seeing insane numbers and have the potential to two-shot and one-shot people at sometimes, warlocks and mages specifically. And of course, rep paladins are getting actual gear that they can wear and dominate in PvP with, and even PvE more viably. Boomkins and elemental shamans get greater access to crit gear if they can somehow convince their guilds to actually allow them to go that route and start dominating in PvP. Elemental shamans are nuts in PvP, so if they're able to get access to a bunch of different crit items like Mishundare, some of the items from AQ, AQ20, PvP gear, and sort of make a little bit of a patchwork PvP set with a ton of crit on it, then elemental shaman, or at least that specific elemental shaman who's able to make that work, is going to become your mortal enemy in BGs. So this is definitely something to look forward to, and I know a ton of you guys out there have, been a bit dry in terms of what you've been able to get, especially the mages out there. It's really hard to get items when you're competing with 15 different people in one specific raid, so having access to a greater or wider range of items in general from different raids is going to allow you to start decking your character out and getting access to more epics, so you should definitely look forward to that. Now, the next thing to look forward to is the release of BGs. Obviously, that's right around the corner, but on top of that, later on, we're getting access to Arathi Basin. Now, for the most part, Warsong Gulch and AV are awesome BGs, but they're both plagued with the potential of going on indefinitely or being turtled. And for a lot of people, this is something that they're not necessarily super excited about, especially in a pug scenario. In pre-mades, they tend to go quite fast, but when you're pugging Warsong Gulch, or pretty much most AVs, people are more focused on not losing rather than winning. And what I mean by that is, in AV, even though it's most likely a loss or it's looking really grim, people will defend to their last breath and make it take a lot longer than it should. You'll have people in the battleground chat saying, guys, just lose, let them win, we're wasting time here. But there's always those people that are dead set on never giving up, and to be honest, wasting everybody else's time. And in Warsong, obviously, it's filled with griefers who just want to make it last longer than expected, or if people aren't coordinated, you could have two people holding the flag on each side forever and nothing really ever gets done. But in Arathi Basin, it's a much faster paced game, and I know specific people who only queue AB, it's their favorite thing to do, especially rogues. And to be honest, I'm one of those guys. The BG mechanics within AB, even in its slowest form, which is a 3-2 cap, generally won't take longer than 20, 25, 30 minutes, and that's max. and a 5 cap can last like 5 minutes, not even. So AB cycles really fast, and if you have ADD and you get sick of being in the same BG for too long, then that's definitely going to be your PvP outlet. Or if you're limited in the amount of time that you could actually play, getting stuck in a 6-hour AV isn't necessarily great for you, or same thing with Warsong Gulch. AB again is definitely going to be your outlet, and it's definitely something to look forward to as well. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is something you should all be excited for, and specifically because it's a piece of content within vanilla that's open to the entire player base. It's very casual friendly. We're talking about 20-man raids, sometimes referred to as catch-up raids. We're talking about Zul'Gurub and AQ20, the Ruins of Ahn'Qiraj. If you don't have time to commit to a raid guild, a raid schedule, you've just been pugging around here and there, although to be honest, pugging is going to be a fully viable raiding outlet throughout the entirety of Classic WoW, even in naxx, and people get surprised by that, but yeah, people are going to be pugging naxx at one point. But even in that case, if you can't really commit to 40-man raiding, 20-mans are the perfect option for you. And another thing is, of course, gearing your alts. Zul'Gurub specifically is one of the most fun raids in all of Classic. It's maybe not the most intricate or, you know, the craziest when it comes to the level of depth, but there's just something about it. It's super fun to do, and there's a ton of good items there that can allow you to gear out your alt fairly well for either your goals within a raid scenario or your goals within a PvP environment. This is for sure something that I'm very excited about. For instance, if you want to make a dagger rogue, Hakar drops this sweet dagger. You don't have to roll against a ton of different rogues. If you want a two-handed weapon for your Ret Paladin alt, your hunter for PvP, or of course your warrior, Zinrock Destroyer of Worlds is a great option for you. And then add AQ20 on top of that, which comes on the next phase release after ZG and AB. You have 2 raids to do with a ton of different bosses and a ton of different loot to choose from, which can really help you deck out all of your alt characters or even your main if you want to make 20-mans your focus. And of course, raiding in a 20-man environment is a little bit less of a cluster. It's more personal, and a lot of people have more fun in a 20-man scenario than in a 40. So again, 20-man raiding is something to look forward to for the entire player base. All right, now this specific part in Classic WoW is the thing that I'm most excited for, and I'd say that's probably going to be the biggest boost in hype that we've seen since the launch of Classic. It's a point in gaming history that is so massively iconic. I don't think it's ever been replicated, or I don't think anything could ever reach that level of infamy in any game ever. And lucky for us as the player base of Classic WoW, we're gonna be experiencing it once again. Maybe it won't be exactly like the first time, but it's sure as damn gonna be insanely awesome. A lot of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about the AQ40 gates opening. The opening of the Scarab Wall is something that's deeply entrenched in the lore of Classic WoW, or World of Warcraft in general. And what Blizzard did back in late 2005, actually I think it was 2006, yeah, mid 2006 if I'm not mistaken, was honestly maybe a bit ambitious, a bit risky, and honestly there's a reason why they never tried to do something like that ever again. It was pretty damn messy, and considering the server stability today with so many people congregated into one zone, it's probably going to be messy again. But the opening of the AQ40 gates is just a mesmerizing moment. Servers are going to come together, Horde and Alliance, fighting the invasion at the gates, stacking up on consumables and materials to hand in for the war efforts, working together faction to faction in order to secure the first opening of the gates before all the other servers. Scaram, Herod, Fairbanks, Fairlina, Gahannis, and what other big European servers out there, all battling against each other to open the gates first and get the first crack at AQ40. In my opinion, this is gonna be the peak of Classic WoW. Of course, omitting the launch of Classic WoW, which was one of the most insane things I've ever seen with over 1 million views on Twitch alone at one time. But the opening of the gates is probably gonna be the only thing that we ever see bring us back to maybe 10,000 plus queues on the big servers out there. Although to be honest, we haven't even seen what a new raid release is gonna look like in terms of those queues or in terms of a spike in the hype. I'm really curious to see what Blackwing Lair is gonna bring. Now, if you guys aren't aware what the AQ40 gates are about, I'm not gonna make this video going into too much detail about it. I'll probably save that for once we're closer to the release, but there are already videos from Mad Season, Platinum Wow, and some other people talking about the subject, and of course there's original footage from back in vanilla, so if you guys want to see what it's all about, you should definitely go check it out, and it's probably the biggest thing to look forward to. Alright, so finally on the list, you guys obviously know exactly where I'm going with this, the final frontier of Classic WoW, sieging the domain of the Lich King's underling, Kel'Thuzad, we've got Naxx. Now this is part of the core of why people wanted to return to Classic. When Naxx first hit servers back in late 2006, it was a different time. Honestly, the player base wasn't ready for such an intense raid. The level level of mechanics, the sheer level of difficulty when it comes to Naxx compared to pretty much every other raid released before it was pretty drastic. And following a couple months after the release of Naxx, the Burning Crusade hit live immediately. So you only had a very short period of time to actually siege the corrupted citadel. This made it so that I believe less than 1% or maybe 1% of the total player base back then actually got into Naxx or killed some bosses in Naxx, and even less were able to kill the final boss and fully clear the instance. It's a piece of WoW history that people just didn't get to experience. And the saddest part about that is it's one of the greatest raids of all time. Literally one of the greatest raids. People think about Uldar, Tier 5, Black Temple, and honestly, beyond that, I kind of didn't like any of the raids, but I'm sure some of you guys have raids and different expansions that just really stick out to you in your memory. Well, Naxx is 100% in the top 5. In my opinion, there's no arguing about that. It's one of the greatest raids ever designed on so many different levels, and I made a video covering why I personally think it's the greatest raid of all time, so if you guys are interested in my take on the situation, then go check out that one. But when it comes to Naxx, it's unfinished business. But now we get the chance to rewrite history, go back, form groups, form guilds and friends to siege the dreaded citadel, and rewrite history on our terms, finally banishing Kel'Thuzad and destroying his minions. When it comes to what I'm looking for in my classic experience, even though I've already fully cleared Naxx a bunch of times on private servers, going back in an official sense on World of Warcraft Blizzard servers with my guild and conquering that final classic frontier, as I said earlier, is for sure the #1 priority on my classic bucket list. And it's something that I hope you guys are going to stick around for, because it will not disappoint. And that's pretty much that. I mean, it's quite obvious. I don't think I have to say much more. This is definitely something you should be excited for. There it is. This video, I believe, was absolutely necessary. I feel like there's been a shroud of insecurity about Classic's future, a great diminishing factor within the hype of the community in general, mostly based off of the little bit of content drought that we're in right now. And honestly, going back for the last couple months, I've said it a million times that this was bound to happen. When you do a progressive release like this, the first couple patches are not nearly as exciting as the later ones. I warned people so many times, guys, Molten Core is going to be fun when we initially siege it, but it's really simple. And a lot of people are going to meme on it. A lot of people are going to take that as what Classic represents. First impressions are everything after all, and make their judgment based on that. But there's so much more to the Classic experience. And the whole point of this video obviously is to put a highlight on everything that you should be looking forward to. So hopefully I can have at least a marginal effect to increase the hype going forward. It's a big thing that I was focused on before the release of Classic, was just building up the hype, and I consider that my sacred duty for this YouTube channel. So get hyped for what the rest of Classic has in store. Get super hyped for the Burning Crusade if that's the next chapter in our legacy story. And don't worry guys, I'll be there for the entire ride. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, of course, you know the drill, soldiers. Hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a new video straight out of the render oven. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.